Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we're watching episodes 210, 211, and 212 of Bleach. So we are finally finishing off this little mini flashback arc, and I feel like these episodes are going to be too intense for me to take all at once. But like it didn't make sense to like have the last episode of this arc and then going back into the stuff that's happening with Aizen versus Soul Society. Just like in my head, I was like, let's just do it all together. You know, worst comes to worst, we get more Bleach. So in the very end of the last episode, we had one of the squads getting attacked. I can't remember his name now, the like white-haired guy who was also part of Visored. I don't know many of the Visor's names, like I can't remember them because we like met them so briefly. His squad got attacked, and we have kind of this mystery going on of a bunch of Soul Reapers who are like disappearing, and people who are disappearing in Soul Society, like their souls are being sucked out and then their bodies are dissolving, which is worrisome. So we have the squad getting attacked. At the very, very end, we have Hiyori going towards that squad being attacked. She has been sent to investigate by Urahara, and I'm worried about it because we're going towards what has been referred to as the incident, which I'm assuming involves Visored becoming Visored, so a bunch of these characters who are at the moment part of Soul Society becoming part Hollow and thus leaving Soul Society or being kicked out. I'm not really sure. We also still have Urahara and Yoroichi, who we know also leave Soul Society, so I'm assuming that's part of it too. And we have Aizen and Gin meeting. Gin, still creepy, even as a small child, which is impressive. I thought he would be cute, but nope. I'm also interested in Mayuri's connection to all of this because we know that Mayuri was taken out of this like prison thing, this underground, I don't know, holding facility for people who like went against what was expected of people in Soul Society, like going against the rules, but it was like kind of vague about it being like not really like a crime as we would think of it. It was just like going against the norms or what is expected, as opposed to like straight up breaking laws, because we've seen like what happens when someone like breaks a law with Urukia in the Soul Society arc. So I'm assuming this is a little bit different. It was also just people who were like deserters, because you can't like retire from being a Soul Reaper. You just like, you either die in service or you just like keep going until, you know, until you die naturally. Can you die naturally as a Soul Reaper because you're like a spirit mostly? I don't know, but we've seen that Soul Reapers can live to be really old. So people who decide to like, they don't want to be part of like the Soul Society anymore, they don't want to be Soul Reapers, they can't just leave. So they get put in this kind of holding facility instead. So some ambiguity about that, but we did have Mayuri in there where he was actually like locked up, which I assume that there's like some backstory there about what he did to get him thrown into an actual cell. It wouldn't surprise me that Mayuri did something awful. He does not think of people as having feelings or being useful other than for his experiments. So I definitely see him just like killing a bunch of people for his own curiosity. And we had him taken out of there though by Urahara, and them working together with the research and development department that Urahara started. So I'll be curious to see how much Mayuri is involved with the incident and like Urahara leaving, and how much he knows about the circumstances of that, because I don't know how much of it is like common knowledge in Soul Society. Like I don't know how much people know about what happened with Urahara and Visored, because if it's connected to Aizen, and I'm pretty sure it is, given that, you know, we're setting up him and Gin and a bunch of stuff with him going into the fights that are going to happen. In Soul Society, we know didn't know that Aizen was making all these plans until the end of the Soul Society arc, so I'm gonna assume that like a good chunk of what happened is still like just known to like Urahara and Visored. So let's just get into the first episode 210 because we're gonna be here for a while. We got a lot of episodes today, so let's get into the show. In three, two, one, go. I'm like, I'm excited and nervous about where this is gonna lead for the next few episodes. I think I'm getting sick, so I apologize if I like cough or anything during this. So, if Gian has been like introduced to what Aizen's plan has been like this whole time, because we're seeing him as like a child meeting Aizen and the implication that they've been working together for that long, when did Tosin decide to join? Because I don't think we established that, did we? Maybe we did. I have like a vague memory of maybe like at least a flashback, brief flashback that was about younger Tosin. I think it was just like backstory though. I don't think it was like specifically about why he decided to join Aizen. But I could be wrong. I mean, I've seen so many episodes of this show now. There are so many characters that I can't always keep everything straight in my head. Especially since Soul Society feels so long ago. Like I feel like so much has happened since Soul Society that it's already starting to like fade in my memory of everything that happened. Let alone the first arc. Ugh, I'm definitely gonna have to like revisit parts of this show. I guess Mishiro, that's the girl with the green hair, right? She's also part of the attack that was happening because she was asleep. Because Kensen Kensei, I'm not really sure how to say his name, but he like left the tent and got attacked. But I guess she's still asleep in the tent, so and we know that she's part of Vizard, so I assume that she's going to at least get caught up in everything that's happening as well. Yeah. We all knew that something bad was gonna happen though, right? Like someone doesn't become part hollow and not have it be an awful traumatic event. Are we gonna see who it is? I'm assuming Aizen. I assume everything is Aizen. I assume everything is connected to him somehow. Samashita did also get attacked because it said that the spiritual pressure disappeared. Is he gonna ignore the summons of all of the captains and go after Hiyori? Oof. Did he actually go to the summons? But he's gonna demand to go, isn't he? He's gonna go anyway, though. Like, he's gonna go anyway. We're agreeing on that, aren't we? Aww. Shinsui is so, like, nice. Hollowfication. Just saying. It's a good point. Also a good point, I guess. I think also he's partly like not expecting there to be people to treat, given that their bodies have just like disappeared up to this point. I remember him. Sorry. Gathering all of the visor together. Lisa. Like a parent. How is he gonna feel though when everything like turns sideways though and Lisa gets hollowified? So if they're like Kido masters, is that linked to why Orahime's power was so close to his? I mean, I think part of it has to do with the whole hollowness, also, but I wonder if it's a mixture of the things. In the same way that like Sado's power was like connected to hollows in a way that hasn't fully been explored yet. I don't know, his eyes were covered. I feel like he's just saying things because he wants to be confident and make Urahara feel better. Usually hiding the eyes means that there's some deception in what a character is saying or doing. Hey, Shinji! I mean, I'm happy that you're helping out, but I'm also worried because I know how this is gonna turn out, at least in some capacity. Really? So they're fighting the like hollow versions of them. So Aizen is turning Soul Reapers part hollow. I assume I'm just go. It's Aizen. Aizen has to be the one doing it. You know you gotta go. There's no way he could just sit around and wait. It's complicated. It's sort of Kensei. Again, it's complicated. I assume it's a lot like Ichigo though when he first started, where there was like very distinct like two kind of like entities trying to control the body. There's like the Hollow and then Kensei himself, and he hasn't like fully conquered that Hollow yet, so that's why like the Hollow has full control at this point, so that's why he's like attacking them. I do like Lisa's confidence, like a very like calculated confidence. Ooh, we haven't seen like all of these hollow forms yet, so I'm like every time I see one now, I'm like, ooh, it's very insect like design, which a lot of the hollows have, are more like insect based looking designs. I guess part of that's just like exoskeletons, because hollows tend to have the like bone details on them, which just works, it just fits exoskeleton designs more than like fur that you would get on like mammals, right? You guys need to work together. This one time, you need to not be fighting all the time. Oh, he's so sweet. You did make it, and you helped. Good job. I just feel like he needs praises more than the others. Another kind of restraining keto. There might be others though, right? Maybe it just worked for these two because they were like strong enough to actually like survive being made part hollow, as opposed to like some of the other Soul Reapers that maybe weren't as strong and like were just consumed by the hollow and became like fully a hollow instead of like only partly. Yes, that's not conspicuous at all. It's pretty clever though. He's gonna try. Yes, I also suspected. He wasn't exactly subtle about it. And he really didn't because they're still together. You're gonna get kicked out too. Sorry. I just feel like I feel so much tension at the like build up to everything that's going to be happening. Like so many of the characters that we know that become visored are like being sent to go and deal with this problem that's happening, which like makes sense given that the majority of them are captains or lieutenants or like keto masters. So they're like these important people that are dealing with this very big event that is happening, um, that everyone's trying to figure out exactly what is going on and stuff like that. So it's just, it's all of this tension. It's like Urahara going to join it. And I can't remember his name now, but the glasses guy that's like with Urahara in his shop now. So like we know that like I mean, I didn't know whether he was actually part of Soul Society and then came with Urahara, so that's a cool kind of connection that like so many of these like people who used to be in Soul Society are now like outside of it. So like he's gonna have to leave or get kicked out. I don't really know what's gonna happen exactly because we know that people don't just leave. Like I assume that if it was Soul Society's decision about what was gonna happen to Urahara and Yoroichi and Glasses guy, who I can't remember the name of, and I'm so sorry. Then they would have been sent to that like the like underground, not prison, as Urahara put it, but like that's where people go when they break some kind of standard that the Soul Society has. So I assume that that's where they would have ended up if it was Soul Society's decision. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that like they decided to leave for whatever reason. Whether that was because of what is going on with Aizen and that stuff with like Arrancar and Soul Reapers becoming partly hollow, if that event in and of itself triggered them to want to leave, or if it's just because they're breaking some kind of standard of the Soul Society and it was either be put in that underground prison or just leave while they had the chance. So, or I guess they could have been put in the underground prison and then broke out somehow. I mean, Urahara used to work there as like a guard of some kind, so I assume that he knows it a lot better than most of the people that get put in there, so maybe they escape somehow and that's part of it. I don't know, but we only have 2 episodes left and I feel so much like anxiety about this because I know partly how it's going to turn out. Like, I know that it's not going to be like a happy ending. I know it's going to have tragedy mixed up in it. Like, a bunch of these people are going to have to leave, and then it's going to like throw off balance Soul Society. And I know that they're not going to know that Aizen is part of it and Geen. So, like, there's just going to they're gonna still be there in Soul Society, like coming up with plans and causing havoc. And I just, I wish I could stop it from happening because I could see the progression and I just want to help and stop it, even though I know there's no point because it's a flashback. But let's just watch episode 211 and rip off the band aid, you know? In three, two, one, go. I'm just so. You ever have it's kind of like how I feel with like secondhand embarrassment, where like you know that something is gonna happen and you just want to escape. Like you just want to like stop the person from doing something and like run away. I have that so bad. Like I literally like I like if it's like in a book, I like have to close the book and put it down. If I'm like watching a TV show or movie, I like get up and like have to like walk around. And I feel like I have the same thing with this because I know that tragedy is coming and I'm like, I just want to like protect them from themselves. I'm not even gonna get like a proper break after this, am I? Because we're just gonna have to go back to the conflict that we like put on pause with Aizen showing up in the living world again. Mostly, um, Ulqueora we have to deal with. I'm anxious about too many things. Yes. He's gonna go anyway and break some kind of rule because he's going against Yamamoto's orders. I am curious how Yoroichi gets involved in it. Like, I don't know if she's gonna get directly involved in what's happening, or if she's just gonna decide to leave because Urahara leaves. Yep. And I know that ultimately they're gonna like lose this fight in some capacity because they're visored now. Oof. I like the kicking base attacks that Meshiro uses. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely not because you're keeping an eye on things. You're not. Mm-hmm. So Shinsui has also had some suspicions regarding Aizen. Oh, I mean, she might be back in the morning, but not how you think. You always can tell when the fight's about to get serious when the electric guitars come in. They're just trying so hard, and I know that it's not gonna end well. Is she already like starting to become a hollow? Yeah. Ugh, I remember you. Oh, Tosin. I was wondering where he was. He's loyal, just not to the person you think. I love Shinji's just like, I've always known. I'm assuming that's why he wanted to make him his lieutenant. Yeah. It was like so we could keep an eye on him, right? Literally what I just said. Obviously, didn't keep him close enough though. His illusions. That's true, you could have anyone stand in then because he doesn't know anything that would distinguish him as like the real Aizen, right? Okay, but I do hope that Shinji beats him up a little bit. Just saying. To keep an eye on him. It's all according to Aizen's plan, it always is. Oh no. I think you'll understand well enough, though, like, soon enough. I think it's partly to their disadvantage, though, that they have so many that of people that like legitimately care about each other, because that's definitely going to help them hold on to their humanity, as opposed to losing themselves to the hollow, right? Aizen looks slightly perturbed. Yep. I guess that'd be a bit of their advantage too, because if the hollow can take control and start fighting, that it's going to be fighting in a different way than they're probably used to, like Shinji and the other Soul Reapers are fighting. So, like, they wouldn't even be able to use the advantage of, like, knowing their fighting style super well, because the Hollow's own influence will, like, slightly change the way that they're fighting, right? Even just, like, their power level will change the way that they decide to fight. They'll be faster and have more power behind their attacks. Urahara! I feel like cutting off the like badge that makes him a lieutenant is very symbolic. Not just because he becomes a captain, but it's like Urahara doesn't see his position as mattering anymore, right? By like removing his mark as a lieutenant. Is it bad that I'm looking forward to getting to see Vizard's hollow forms? Because I know that we've seen some of them with their mask, but it's like not really the same. Because we saw with Ichigo when he turned into his like hollow form, or he was like trying to figure out his hollow form, that he like more fully transformed. But every time now that he uses his ability, he just has the mask on. And that's basically what we've seen with like Shinji and Hiyori when they're using their hollow power too. So it's not like they're fully transforming the way that they do when they're like first trying to figure out how to like balance out between the hollow and their like human selves. So like I'm kind of loving getting to see what their hollow forms look like. I shouldn't because I know it's like bad and I don't want them to be like hollowified, but I want to see the form. You know, you guys know how I feel about like released forms with the Arrancar. I don't know why I like it so much, but I do. And of course, we had the interaction between Aizen and Shinji, where like we really get to see how Shinji has been suspecting Aizen for a while, for a long time, from the way that he words it and like how he wanted to have Aizen as a captain because it like, you know, keep your enemies closer kind of mentality. But it was also a great way of just showing how Aizen and Shinji have been like trying to navigate around each other. I think it's pretty safe to say that like Aizen won out on that whole who was being able to outmaneuver whom. Uh, it's always part of Aizen's plan, you know? We can agree to that, can't we? One of the mysteries to Shinji that I asked like earlier on when we were learning about him was like why he knows so much about what is going on with Aizen and like both knows what's been going on with the Soul Society, but like it was almost as if he just knew beforehand what was going to happen with Soul Society. And I was like, why does he know so much? Like, obviously, they were Soul Reapers who then became like part Hollow and then aren't part of Soul Society anymore. But like, why would he know so much if it just happened? Like, either they have a direct connection to that or it's something that they've known about beforehand. And I didn't know if that meant that, like I said, like one, they had a connection within the Soul Society still, or if they had a connection to Aizen, like currently. And that was kind of like why I was unsure of where they were going to fall on the overall conflict, because I was like, if if they do have a connection with Aizen, then obviously they're probably going to side over with him. And they were kind of put into the frame of being more villain characters or adversaries to Ichigo than like allies. And I feel like that has shifted a lot over the course of like that first part of the arc, where they really do feel more like allies between helping Ichigo with his training with his hollow side and also with them joining in with some of the confrontations with the Arrancar, that it definitely does feel like they are more likely to side with Ichigo and his friends, maybe Soul Society. I don't know how disgruntled they might feel about Soul Society at the end of this whole like incident that is currently happening. So I think this next episode will really determine like why characters ended up where they did, like why Vizard ended up where they did, and how they were able to overcome kind of the hollow transformation, how Urahara and Yoroichi end up coming into that. I really hope that we're going to see some more of Urahara fighting and his fighting style, because the little bits that I've seen of it, both when we saw him fighting against the Arrancar before and when we saw him fighting just hand-to-hand combat when they were in the prison, both of those times it's a style that I very much like. And I've only seen like little bits of it. This is mostly just my interpretation of like where I think his abilities can go, and I'm sure that he'll surprise me once I actually get to see him like legitimately have to get involved in a fight, because we've kind of seen him, you know, get into a fight to end it, and he'll do that very quickly, and he'll do that without like really having to use any of his tricks or use a lot of his power. So I hope we get to see a little bit more of that as he picks a fight with Aizen, because we know Aizen's got a lot of power, but I'm assuming he wasn't as powerful back then as he is now, like 100 years later. So that's probably what I'm most excited for in this episode, amid all of the heartbreak that I'm sure is about to come. So let's just get into episode 212 and finish out this arc. In three, two, one, go. I'm like ready but not ready for how this is gonna end. I'm just saying that now. I'm still interested to know how much Mayuri is gonna be involved in it. I really don't know how this is gonna like turn out in terms of like how they leave Soul Society. Because I'm assuming it can't be on good terms if we like have a prison for people who just like want to retire. I'm also like losing my voice. You know what? I'm gonna get Jasper because yeah. I am excited that Urahara has shown up though, because usually when he shows up, things get serious. And like the fights usually end up coming to a swift end when he shows up. Not serious in tone, because we all know that Urahara goofs around. Hosen showing up, causing betrayals like he always does. I will hold it against him. This is like you people. Like he doesn't know their name. So disconnected. The cloak probably helped him sneak up on Aizen too, if it like blocks his spiritual pressure. Beat him up. I just want somebody to like smack Aizen around a little bit. Yes, some stuff has been going down. See, he always goes around, but he knows more than people might think. It's fine. Urahara doesn't believe. Yep. I also feel like Urahara is gonna take this personally. That someone has like attacked Soul Reapers that he's like been around and worked with and uh you know enjoy spending time with. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Okay, that's pretty cool though. I didn't know he had that going on. I don't think it'll work though. You can't tell me that nobody in Soul Society noticed that though. The amount of spiritual pressure being thrown around to do keto like that. Giant flame ball. Unless he's just a lieutenant because he wants to be. We've talked about this before about how people's ranks in the squads aren't always reflective of like their actual abilities. Because they have to choose whether they want to progress, right? Like, didn't like Ikagu get asked to be a captain like multiple times, and he's just like, no. He's not even the lieutenant of his squad, but he could be a captain if he wanted to. But he's like, no. Well, I guess we know how he got kicked out using banned techniques. And I guess I'm assuming Urahara is gonna do something that's banned to like save their lives too, to like stop them from turning fully into hollows. Like, ain't wait, there's no way nobody saw that. Nobody's like keeping an eye on the spiritual pressure in that location where they know like something is going down. I know we're not trying to be secretive, but like they gotta be wondering what's going on. The orb. I know it's called the Hogyokyu, but I always forget. I just call it the orb. Almost seems more mystical that way. Yeah, it's not gonna save them. It's just gonna like prevent them from becoming fully hollows, right? Well, hello, Shinji. I don't know if I would have fallen asleep in a room with a bunch of people who might have become hollows, though. Yeah. Using techniques they shouldn't have. Or at least Soul Society told them they shouldn't have. The idea of the Central 46 makes me sad, though, given how that turned out. Are they gonna think that Urahara is the one that turned them use televocation? Yeah. Aizen. Yep. It just seems that way because he uses illusions. So is that why uh Shinsui was like kind of like acting a little bit off when he saw Aizen there because it wasn't actually Aizen. It was just the person that he had like illusioned to be there in his place. Convenient. Does that mean he's not gonna know that the members of Vizard survived? Because he got banished before he found out that they were okay? I mean, he knows that they're fine now because Ichigo's been with them, so. Yoroichi helping out! I was wondering if how directly involved she was gonna be. Of just the one woman army that is Yoroichi. I love that like Aizen has a bunch of plans, but so does Urahara. Interesting to see them kind of like try to outmaneuver each other. Oh, I don't like that look though. You definitely did take your time. It's been 100 years. Interesting though. That implies that like they all came with Urahara when he came to the living world, and then probably spent some time with him before being visored, before going off on their own, because they don't seem to be directly connected anymore. Oh, I'm so happy that everybody's coming together to pick a fight. Kensei and Hiyori definitely are gonna be into this fight. Probably Lisa too. Lisa's got more of a temper than might be expected. I think the key thing that I was kind of not expecting to happen in all of that was the connection that Urahara and Vizard would have, like, outside of the Soul Society itself. Like, I knew that they probably knew each other when they were in the Soul Society together, that they would have interacted in some way, but I wasn't aware that Urahara was like so directly connected to like Vizard as a group of people as they are now. Because not only did Urahara like save them from being turned into these full hollow things, not only did he break them out of the Soul Society, but it's also implied that they have been working closely together for the last like 100 years to figure out a way to have them sort of be able to control their hollow ability, to figure out exactly what Aizen has been planning and what avenue he was going to take in order to make those plans come to fruition. And we're probably way more aware of everything that has currently been happening, like the possibility of all this stuff happening, than anybody else. And I really do feel like it is going to be this battle between like the two minds of between like Aizen and Urahara, and like seeing who can outmaneuver who. Because Aizen was, you know, kind of navigating around Urahara and like using that to his advantage, but on the other side of that, Urahara had a plan for that worst case scenario and was able to like get out of it and continue on with his own research and his own investigations. And I mean, we're talking about someone who was like basically the detective equivalent in the Soul Society, but also was some like a guard of like a prison, sort of. Uh, Also a scientist. Like Urahara fits into so many different categories of like who exactly he is, and that makes him very diverse. That makes him very knowledgeable about lots of different angles about how to approach any kind of problem or any kind of uh, issue that needs to be solved. But it also means that he understands a lot of the different parts of Soul Society and like how these different areas work together to like make a coherent whole, because I'm sure that not a lot of people in Soul Society have like been a part of all of these different groups of people within Soul Society. And then to have spent a bunch of time outside of Soul Society, doing his own thing, interacting with different kinds of people who also have spirit pressure, having Visored be a group of people that he was interacting with. Like, I feel like he is probably the most knowledgeable of like what exactly the game board looks like in a way that a lot of other people aren't, except maybe Aizen. I think Aizen probably has a good idea of everything that's going on, but mostly because he's like manipulating the pieces this whole time. He's the only one that really knew that there was a game being played for the longest time. And Urahara's kind of had to play a little bit of catch up, but I feel like I'm way more confident in what exactly is going to be happening now than I was before, because I was like, Soul Society didn't know what was going on until recently. Aizen's got a huge head start on them. How are they going to compensate for just the pure preparation gap between them and Aizen? And now we have Urahara, who has been preparing for this for a long time, and I think if anybody could keep up with Aizen's strategic thinking, it would be Urahara. So I'm actually really excited to see what Urahara has come up with and what exactly the strategy is going to be to pull together all of these different kinds of people, because we have like Urahara and his kind of I don't know, wayward Soul Reapers, we have Visored, we have Soul Society, and then we have Ichigo and his friends. And I'm very curious about how all of those groups are going to come together in order to go up against Aizen and the Espada and Arrancar in general. Of course, we have to get like Ichigo and his friends back to the living world, which is kind of our first hurdle that we're going to have to go over. And of course, Ukeora and Yami, I'm pretty sure, are the ones that are still in Huecomundo. Also, where's Wonderweiss? I can't remember if Wonderweiss was with Aizen. I feel like they weren't. But Wonderweiss was kind of like following Gin around. And Gin is with Aizen, so I wonder if Wonderweiss is going to go with them, or if Wonderweiss is still in Huecomundo. Because they're not technically an Espada, but they're probably strong enough to be an Espada, so I don't know if Ichigo and the captains that are with him are going to have to deal with Wonderweiss or not. They're going to have to deal with Ukeora first, I think. And I guess Yami, I keep forgetting that Yami's like one of the Espada that we still have to technically deal with because he's number 10, and we're dealing with number 5, you know, like we were dealing with Noitara, and I feel like Yami's just not gonna be that big of a deal when they fight him. But I really did like that little arc. I'm glad that that was an arc that wasn't like marked as filler or anything like that, because I really do think that it's like really important to make the context, like establish the context of like all of these characters and how they know each other, how they relate to each other, how their stories interconnect before going into this part of the arc where all of these people are going to be brought together. Probably not right away. I'm assuming that it's going to take a little while for them to really gather and have the proper, like, you know, all-out fight that we've been waiting for this whole Arrancar arc. I think there's only like 2 parts of it left, if I remember. So, you know, I feel like this is gonna be an intense couple of parts coming up, but I did really like that arc. I love learning more about characters and getting a bunch of backstory. And I'm very nervous about Ichigo thinking that he can fight Ukeora again, because that turned out very, very badly last time. So I think I'm going to be very stressed for the remainder of the Arrancar arc. You can click this playlist to go and see the other parts of this arc, or you can subscribe. I post new Bleach episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!